So test, test, test. Welcome, welcome, Star Wars Jedi Knights. Okay, so here we are at the beginning of the whole saga, the Phantom Menace. To me, this is my favorite one. It's where it all starts. You meet most of the characters, and what I think is a good theme throughout the entire story is the theme of the Force. I think it's a bit of an underlooked element of the Star Wars sagas. Like, what is the Force? What does it flow through? Who can harness it? So, according to Yoda, this thing is pretty omnipresent. Wind, water, fire, earth, metal. It clearly can flow through all these different things. So a good example would be the Japanese, where I know Lucas got a lot of his ideas from. It's known that maybe the Jedi is coming from Jedi Geki films. You can see the samurai idea with the swords and the idea of a knight and guardians of empires or rebellions, with the Ronin samurai or the regular samurai. They went both sides, but the Japanese would believe that even rocks or robots or like technology has spirit in it or ki energy in it. So it's a big element of this whole thing is money is energy, emotions is energy, and obviously energy is energy, physical energy, spiritual energy, mental energy, emotional energy. That's what I want to focus on here. So in that opening scene, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon were both sitting there. We're going to go into a rescue mission to save, I believe, Amidala. And if we, zoom out a bit, we can see how the Force is already kind of guiding us a certain way, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn both sense something, that's happening, and Qui-Gon is really focused on staying calm. He's a bit more wise and elder, and Obi-Wan is still young and he's still, learning. He's a young Padawan, so it's pretty interesting how they feed off of each other.
Time for us to get these negotiations underway.
So this is a Trade Federation battleship. So this is apparently where we're getting some negotiations. We want to land, yeah. It's a cool design there. Almost like an Atlantis-looking thing or a circle. So the entire story is based on like who controls the will of the people, who controls the will of the Force, and the Jedi are highly sensitive to it with their high level of midichlorians, and I believe, a guy like C-3PO here, he can sense the Force through digits or like numbers or probabilities and languages. R2-D2 can see the Force through like puzzles. He can decode things quite well. The Jedi can move well with the Force.
Don't center on your anxieties, Obi-Wan. Keep your concentration.
They can feel it. They can feel others. They can feel nature. So yeah, like I said, it's a really underlying theme. And when you can see the different perspectives or understand the different perspectives of, if the robot or artificial intelligence is an element of it because it's omnipresent, then it's there. And the Emperor, the Palpatine, or all the Sith and Maul and everything, well, these beings can also sense it. They're just using a different element of like strong emotions. So,
These Federation types are cowards. The negotiations will be short.
you know, Maul can just use it in a different way. And the Jedi don't really adhere to that ideology of using the Force to, you know, to manipulate. But as you can see here, I am using the Force to manipulate nature. Qui-Gon here is going to lift. Good old chair. We're going to place it back into there.
That didn't sound trivial.
Dioxis. We need to get out of here.
So I can use the Force to grab objects and throw them at the droids. I can't use it later on in the game, I believe, to manipulate people and their minds and everything. So the game has all these elements. It's amazing. The gameplay, I can tell you, is awesome because you've got combinations. My combination of, you know, I can use the Force almost like a long jab or a long attack. In the combo, I can freeze him. I can warp his mind. So Palpatine and Dooku and the Sith Lords, they use the Force through emotions and mental power, almost like psychic spies and remote viewing and everything. And we see Luke is able to do that later on in the series of the astral travel and remote viewing, and that's a little bit of a higher level version of it. And you know, in real life, you can research this and you can look up the CIA spies looking for military bases and weapons of mass destruction or chemical weapons in Iraq or other countries, or searching for people in the forest. This is a technology that's used in real life. So I think seeing symbols is kind of like, you know, maybe using emotions and your intuition, and kind of the third eye. You have the ability to start looking into it, and like tapping into the universal Google or whatever, the Force, this library that's there. And you may not be right in predicting the future or trying to anticipate a movement from your opponent, but you can like calculate a probability of it happening. You can prepare for a probability of it, and that's like the fractal nature of the universe. And probability is like similar to weather. I would, you know, like to see someone guess these things 100%. There are a few fighters or a few, you know, political chess masters can do that, but that's not everyone. These are special things like Muhammad Ali or Floyd Mayweather, Wayne Gretzky, you know, Conor McDavid, Conor McGregor, Michael Jordan. These guys they prepare so much for everything. They can use that Force or that intuition to play against their opponents. I almost see a brief probability into the future. So I think that's what we're seeing here. This is a very cool feature. Like, I can cut a hole into this thing and get straight through.
Over there. Invasion army. We have to get down to the planet and warn the Naboo. Let's stow aboard one of these ships.
So, you know, Palpatine plays a game of like 3D chess against the Jedi, and you can see how that using that style of the Force, what they would call the dark side of the Force, gives Palpatine and the Sith an advantage, because they clearly cloud the judgment of the highest level guys like Qui-Gon and Yoda. So yeah, that ability to use both sides of the Force is questionable, but it is two sides of the same coin, and the Force is the creator and the destroyer. You know, in history, all the evil people we called evil, they probably felt they were heroes. But you know, in the end, it's a matter of perspective, and the occult leaders, you know, someone like Hitler who has very, you know, they're charismatic, and they can manipulate people. There are other leaders like that also. Well, they're doing what Michael Jordan and I would even say Michael Jackson can anticipate the music and the movements quite well, and they have intuition for it. Palpatine is using that same power, you know, like I said, Muhammad Ali, and to play a chess game, a political chess game, years and years in advance, and that's kind of what the whole story is about. Is that Phantom Menace of like, how did he do everything from behind the scenes? And then the best of the best, your psychic spies or your force wielders couldn't even detect something that's hidden in plain sight. And he was able to recruit the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker, and he was able to do it right under the noses of everyone. In the meantime, I believe the Jedi were taking Anakin Skywalker for granted. He is the chosen one. He clearly demonstrated a tremendous amount of powers, and they gave him like all these tasks, and they gave him this, you know, high level of responsibility, but they didn't give him the title for it. And you know, I don't know if it's out of jealousy or they're trying to teach him something, but you know, you've got to have the ability to use your best players, and unfortunately, they didn't value Anakin, and then the Senator did, and Palpatine did. He saw it from the beginning, and he basically mentored him right into the role, and we just didn't know it. He's that good, you know. Palpatine's skill is obviously number one. Like, how do you take over the galaxy without the best players even seeing your moves? There is a cloak of deception going on. It's probably why he doesn't have any friends. You know, you don't see him with a family or friends because he's quite manipulative and he's quite deceptive. So even his Padawans, you know, they disappear too. So that's kind of the sacrifice he makes for trying to control the galaxy. He's almost like a parasite. And the parasite's just looking for energy or hosts, and it clearly goes after the best host, which was Anakin Skywalker. I mean, also he's going after Padme too, so that was clever. He did get the support of Padme. So that's Padme is like a royal bloodline. So there's a couple scenes where I think Anakin talks about, you know, the skills and intuition and special power of Padme. And we do know that Padme does have, you know, some special power because she can negotiate, she can fight, and she's able to somewhat have a relationship with the most powerful person, you know, in the universe. So I'd say she's got some value and some special skills. So for the Emperor Palpatine to, you know, be able to recruit these two and use their youthful energy is quite interesting. So it shows you the power of the dark side. That's real stuff, you know. That's there, and then throughout history you can see the different people in power. There's endless amounts. The occult, which means hidden, It doesn't mean evil or a group or a cult. It means to be hidden. Uh, so these secrets and powers are hidden. They're hidden in plain sight because you would have to almost be able to read the symbols, and that's what kind of where I was going before, is being able to read symbols or decode things. And by decoding these things, you can, you know, pull the veil back. It's a thin veil. It's right in front of you. It's just a matter of the ability to see it. So if you haven't been initiated or trained to see past symbols, which is kind of a first step to, I would say, telepathy, um, you're kind of gonna be subject to manipulation, because if someone can use these psychic powers and symbols and everyone's emotion, you can control masses of people. And you can see the Jedi are fighting for peace and justice in the galaxy, but they don't know they're fighting on the Emperor's team. Now, I guess we can use like an archetype of the Emperor being
Don't worry, the Force will guide us.
the Palpatine is like papal, or like a pope or something. And with the Pope, or the Black Pope, or the Dark Pope, um, he would have the ability, the spiritual power to control masses of people. And maybe his heaven on earth is just different than our perspective of heaven on earth. And maybe it's just controlling everyone and making sure they're, under your eye or your wraps and following the moral code. Maybe that's heaven on earth, and you can control people's behavior with rewards and punishment, and give them galactic credits or points for good things, and take the galactic credits or points away for bad things. And it's very similar to a spreadsheet or blockchain technology, where the person who creates the technology can reward positive behavior and punish negative behavior. In the meantime, you'd have to think like, well, who's making this artificial intelligence or this blockchain? They're God all of a sudden. They're making the rules. So what behavior is rewarded and what behavior is punished? So going back to this idea of the Pope or Papal, you notice he has like a fish hat on his head, and this is going back in mythology to this. I believe his name is Dogon. Is a fish god. I don't know if the ancient people were able to use DNA and splice it together and make half man, half fish, like a mermaid or merman, or they were just drinking fish oils or eating fish and getting the powers of the fish, of being able to sense their environment, or I don't know. Maybe they have better intuition or something. The fish are reptilian. They're cold-blooded. So who knows? Maybe the ancient people were playing with DNA and making hybrids, or using, splicing DNA and taking some special powers from certain fish. Certain fish can sense their environment with the minerals in it and the amino acids, the catfish. So we're not too sure what a fish thinks or what special powers they have, but maybe the ancient people were harnessing that, and that's a possibility, right? And if you can tap into nature, whether it's a dog, half human, half dog, or tapping into the dog's smell, or the eagle's eyes or eagle's vision, and you splice that together in your DNA or use technology that's similar to that, then possibly you can harness this force a little bit better. So the Pope wearing his fish hat compared to the Dogon fish head, maybe it's a myth, or maybe there's something to it there. So it's possible maybe humans are being controlled by, someone would say, reptilian species, but I think fish are reptiles, or birds obviously are reptiles, lizards. So yeah, we're on a rescue mission here to find Padme, and I believe we're in Naboo, which it looks kind of like Europe, like probably filmed. I think it was filmed in Italy. It's a great design, you know. The developers did a good job of the feeling of the place. I really get. You can see like it's almost like it just rained or they washed it in the morning. And it does feel like that in Europe sometimes if it rained or it flooded or something and they wash the streets out and it's kind of empty, no one's around. You can see the architecture is, you know, very similar to Rome. We have gates and we have markets. So we're picking up and saving or rescuing Queen Amidala. And it's just my opinion, but if you mix the letters together, they would mix up and then go to Dalai Lama. And if you think about it, her outfit is very similar to the Dalai Lama, and her face and makeup is similar to a geisha. So she seems to be like if the Dalai Lama is a reincarnation of the Buddha Padmasambhava, I believe, the Buddha of compassion, and she shows this ability to be compassionate. Um, she eventually gives birth to the DNA line of the Skywalkers, and we know this is called the Skywalker saga, and she gives birth to Luke and Leia. And then Leia gives birth to what's his name? Kylo Ren. I think Kylo Ren meets up in the end with Rey. And Rey is the DNA. We think that her DNA was, implanted in the parents, almost like the virgin sort of birth, right? And he's the grandfather, and that could have been that could have happened in all over the place. Like Palpatine might have been clever enough to plant the DNA in a bunch of different, maybe single mothers or just mothers in general, like almost through IVF, and then eventually, maybe through the Force or through him watching it, just like Obi-Wan watched over her Luke. That eventually he found Anakin, or maybe there was a bunch of Anakins out there, and then the Anakin we know that was the one that we found because that was the most metachlorians and maybe attracted that electromagnetic force or some quantum entanglement that the Jedi, as you know, we end up in. I believe we end up in Tatooine, is it? Coming up next. So, maybe Lucas is trying to tell us through the Dalai Lama or Amidala sort of thing that she has a special like bloodline or ability to reincarnate. And she does meet the reincarnation, which we think is the chosen one of Anakin Skywalker. So then these two, powerful DNA lines meet up. And I mean, this has just kind of slipped my mind. Is where is the king of Naboo? Maybe, does she not have a king? Was like she's supposed to be the queen and Anakin's the king? So he's technically the king of Naboo, or is he like how does that work? So kind of like the king and queen of England, where the queen is the monarch and Prince Philip just ended up being the Duke of Edinburgh. We all knew he was king, but they just didn't allow that. And he had royal lineage too. He is
This is Her Royal Highness's ship. Are you ready to go?
Philip has DNA from Victoria, Queen Victoria, so he does have royal blood. It's just interesting how that was all set up. And this, you can look that up. You can look that up and find out that Prince Philip died at 99 years old. Had royal lineage from Victoria bloodline. I believe he escaped from Greece. He is a royal family in Greece, and he escaped from there. So we got Padme Amidala, which is Dalai Lama, and Padme is one of the sutras, like a Om Mani Padme Hum. So Padme, I can't remember what it means. It might mean lotus or flower or something, or heart, maybe heart sutra. And
Tatooine, you say?
so we got Anakin
Suggestions on where we should
meeting with Padme. So again here, this is going back to the same theme. We have the Force just randomly guiding us to Tatooine. And obviously we know we end up on Tatooine again with Luke. So something happens with our spaceship and then we end up here on Tatooine and only one kid can get us off the planet, which I thought it was so exciting is that you get the virgin birth, you've got the hero that's coming from these humble beginnings, who has this just destiny of these special skills like these metachlorians. So you've got this like destiny happening with this thread of this mystical energy guiding everything and everyone. And I do like the quote that Qui-Gon says, like, I can't remember, he's like, oh, the Force will present an opportunity for us, so like be patient. So I think that's very, very smart. That's good, great wisdom. Sometimes you gotta attack, sometimes you gotta defend, but there is that, like, I would say yielding moment when you're kind of reading the situation, and it could only be done through intuition. It's hard to describe.
I know what you need. You need a cute little propeller hat for that grubby looking ass.
So yeah, we're going through this desert town, and the theme does remind me of Jesus, because Jesus was a carpenter. He comes from a desert town, I believe, born in Bethlehem, and and went to Nazareth. And it would look like this, a desert town just like this. And Jesus, I believe, was a carpenter, and Anakin here is he's a mechanic, so that type of like trades worker. And it's easy, like if you wanted to hide, if someone wanted to hide him, it is a good spot to hide.
Let me guess, looking for ship parts? Thought so. Everyone is. You'll be wanting to pay Watto a visit. You'll find a shop across town.
So we're guided by the Force here again, and we're gonna end up Watto shop for like ship parts, and then so we meet the chosen one, Anakin. In this saga, Anakin goes to the dark side. In Jesus' saga, and then Buddha's saga also, they resist that temptation. So that's kind of the difference with those the mythologies. And this is good. In this situation, Anakin he's quite compassionate here and he's caring. He's looking to help everyone out. And obviously he starts to show these special skills right away. And clearly Qui-Gon has confidence in him because he's going to bet on him. I guess the question would be like, does Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan,
We should make our
you know,
way to the arena.
indirectly like influence Anakin here? Or does Anakin just have that special skill and they were just destined to get out of there? So this is an interesting part of the movie and game is the ability Anakin as a human being, and obviously he wasn't tutored in this. He didn't have any special tutelage or skills or coaching as far as like attained skills. He just got everything on his own. He's like self-learned and he's able to beat aliens in the race. So, I mean, that's kind of a good way to find out if someone's worthy or not, or just throw a tournament out there like a beauty pageant or a hockey tournament, baseball tournament, martial arts tournament. These races. I think that's George Lucas did like cars, and he shows it in a couple of his earlier movies. I think American Graffiti. That was a big thing here in this movie. Like all the technology and the gadgets. Um, anyone who has that interest or has that imagination, like you're gonna love this. Like how do you keep track of all the different aliens and the different planets and the different weapons, different languages, and obviously like these spaceships are amazing. This is cool. This is kind of like the drag race or the NASCAR race or Indy 500, Formula One, but we're using like these guys can make their homemade tech. Oh yeah, he gives them a bit of advice there. Use your instincts. We got to beat the aliens. This is fast. Tusken Raiders are after us. That's hilarious. These guys are just throwing like these long sniper shotguns.
Whoa! This is more like it!
Oh, Anakin, this is a bit quick for me, man. Do not have the Jedi reflexes like you.
No! I'm never gonna win unless I reattach it.
Okay, we got it reattached. That was dramatic. Oh man, that was intense. My hands were sweating for sure. Oh, the first time I watched that, I loved it. Like, so the fate of the universe in this story lies on this little kid trying to beat the aliens in some sort of, pod race in the go-kart he built on his own. Oh yeah, which makes it exciting. You knew the boy was gonna win. And then, the dark side is here too. How do they're using technology or they're using their intuition that the two most powerful forces in the universe are like here to recruit this talent. I think that's a big step here. Who's gonna get the talent? And the dark side lets the light side get Anakin first, and their friend Palpatine is able to manipulate him along the way instead of like trying to tug a word away. So yeah, Anakin uses his compassion and empathy, and he helps these people out. Okay, that concludes part 1 here of episode 1.
It's time for us to leave.
Um,
Let's
tune in for the next one.